This is Ben from Testiv, and we're solving an SAT problem about imaginary numbers. For I equals the square root of -1, simplify I to the third all to the fifth. Okay, so what this is saying is I is an imaginary number that equals the square root of -1. That's just a definition. If you have any experience with I, you know that that's what it equals. Simplify I to the third all to the fifth. Okay, so there's just a couple steps to this. When we have an exponent raised to another exponent, we multiply those exponents together. So for example, if we have x squared all to the third, that means x times x, right? And then we're going to multiply that by itself 3 times, right? So this is x squared, and then all to the third means we're multiplying it by itself 3 times. So we can actually just multiply 2 by 3 because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times. So that just equals x to the 6th, okay? So with I to the third all to the fifth, what we have is it's actually I to the third to the fifth equals I to the 3 times 5, which is 15. Okay. So how are we going to simplify this? Well, we could just multiply I by itself 15 times and write it all out. That seems like a pain and unnecessary if you know a little bit about I. Okay, so we could take it a step further. We could take it one step of a shortcut, and we could say, well, I know that I squared is going to equal -1 because it's the square root of -1 times the square root of -1, right? So that equals -1. Okay, well, if I know that I squared equals -1, then that means that I to the fourth equals -1 times -1, which is +1. So I know that anytime I have I to the fourth, that's going to be +1. So if I have I to the 15th, well, that is I to the fourth times I to the fourth times I to the fourth. Now we're up to 12. Times I to the third, okay? 4, 8, 12, 15. So all of this is just 1 times 1 times 1. So that equals 1 times I to the third. Well, I'm not simplified all the way yet. I to the third is I squared. We can get rid of the 1. I squared, because it's already implied, times I. So that is -1 times I, because remember I squared equals -1. So that means it's just -I. And this is our answer. So I took a long time to explain that, but if you know these concepts about I to the fourth and I squared, then if you get a problem like this, you should be able to shortcut it pretty fast without writing everything out. Just figure out where your multiples of 2 and 4 are and substitute in -1 and 1 respectively.